we can talk about when it comes to spiritual growth. I remember sitting in Rolan's office, kami ni Weng, ni Rolan, tsaka ni Faye. We were thinking about ano ba ang dapat nating pag-usapan in this class. What do we need to say to those who are 50 years old and older as a Christian? So let me begin by asking you this question. Don't worry, it's not a pop quiz like Roland's. I want to ask you, and I want you to shout out the answer. Don't worry, it won't affect your salvation. Are you ready for the question? What is your spiritual age?
52.
Isigaw mo, bro! Now, I asked you what your spiritual age is. I did not ask you how old you have, how many years has it been since you were baptized. Hindi ko tinanong gaano ka katagal na sa simbahan. What I asked you is, what is your spiritual age? Now, if it has been 50 or 20 or 25 years since you were baptized, does your spiritual age reflect 15, 20, 25 years of spiritual maturity? Because really, your spiritual maturity, that's your spiritual age. Not the number of years you've been a Christian or baptized. How many years since you've been baptized or you've been a member of this church. Your real spiritual age is your spiritual maturity. I want to share with you a little bit. In February of this year, I had some illnesses I had to deal with, and I had to see a nutritionist. And I went to the nutritionist's office. There's this machine which you stand on and you hold something like a speed, and it measures your body age. This year, I'm 43 years old. But when I got on that machine, according to the machine, my body age was 53.
Ooh.
I was 43. And I was alarmed. So I realized that it's possible for you to be a certain number of years, but your body is much older because of wrong lifestyle choices that you've made.
Okay.
Now, some of you came from the class in the other room, you know what I'm talking about. But I think spiritually it could be the same way. If an unhealthy lifestyle can bring your body to an age older than the number of years that you've been on this earth, sometimes our spiritual age can be much less than the number of years we've been a Christian. Because we haven't been growing spiritually. We don't have the spiritual growth that supports the number of years we've been a Christian. And I think one big reason, and this one I want to talk about in my part, I think one big reason why we do not have a spiritual age, a spiritual maturity that matches the number of years we've been in this church. I think one reason is that we haven't been learning from the past. Kahit tayo ay tumatanda na, hindi naman tayo nagtatanda. Right? Tumatanda, pati naman nagtatanda. Hindi tayo natututo. Paulit-ulit tayo tinuturuan ng Diyos, pero ganun pa rin ang kasalanan natin. Ang dami natin pinagdaanan, pero nasasayang ang pinagdadaanan natin dahil hindi tayo. I remember, even the class before this, Ryan Racines was talking about the new SB. Spiritual bonding daw. Matanda na, malaki na yung katawan, pero parang baby pa rin. Kasi hindi natututo. So paano paraan ba dapat tayo matuto as Christians? I have 2 points. First, the past should give us hope. Isang paraan tayo dapat matuto mula sa nakaraan. One of them is to give us hope. Una sa lahat, dapat tayo bigyan ng pag-asa ng ating nakaraan. This is one thing that we can learn from the past. Let's turn our Bibles to Romans chapter 15 in verse 4. It says, the past was written to teach us, so that through the endurance taught in the scriptures and the encouragement they provide, we might have hope. Now, what did Paul mean when he said everything that was written in the past? Well, we could look at the context. Right, Absalom students? The context. Paul was referring to the Old Testament, which he quoted the verse before, or Psalm 69 verse 9. The Bible is composed of words written in the past. The purpose of the scriptures is to teach us. Nandiyan ang Biblia para turuan tayo. Mga bagay na sinulat na nakaraan na. Mga pangyayari na nakaraan na. Pero tinuturuan pa rin tayo hanggang ngayon. Yes, we must learn from the past. And there is no such thing as a wasted experience if you learn from it. Walang nasasayang. Basta may natutunan tayo. Walang sayang sa lahat ng pinagdaanan natin. Hindi nasayang yung pinagod natin kakakuha ng commitments, recommitments, follow-up, right? All those nights we had meetings. None of that is worthless. None of that is worthless if you learn from them. Kahit na nga yung mga pagkakamali natin, the things, the wrong things we may have done in the past, that's not wasted. Basta may natutunan tayo. You know, but the past was not simply written down to teach us, to give us information. The past was written down to give us hope. The past was written down to give us hope. Dapat, napupulutan natin ng pag-asa ang ating mga pinagdaanan. Hindi lang impormasyon, kundi pag-asa. In the same way that the Bible shows us the faithfulness of God in the lives of the people in the Bible, God has shown His faithfulness to us in what we have gone through. Isn't that true? Ano na nga ba yung mga pinagdaanan natin, Christians? Noong mga 1990s and the early 2000s, ano ba yung mga pinagdaanan natin? What did we go through during those years? Now let me share with you a little bit what I went through. Well, I remember during that time, I was reached out in the campus ministry in 1991. I became a leader. I became dating. I had a dating relationship. But we broke up because of sin. Get back together again. We broke up again because of sin. Twice broken up. 3 times I asked her, the same sister treat my girlfriend, and she's now my ex-girlfriend because she's now my wife. I remember graduating from college, giving up my dream to be a lawyer so I could go to be in the full-time ministry. And I was in the ministry for a year. And I left the ministry after a year. Went into law school. I remember the discipling times. I remember the time I was with the brothers telling them of my decision. I don't want to be a minister anymore. You know those times that they surround you? And they disciple you. So you open up your heart, you confess, and then there's another round of discipling. You say, Lord, and you think you got it down, you become humble, you open up and you say sorry, but and then they go another round, 3 hours, 4 hours. I went through that. I don't know if you can relate. I've seen close friends, leaders I respected, fall into sin, and I've seen them leave God. It hurt. In those times, I also saw people that I reached out to. Fruits I was so proud of. They left God. They didn't last. There were a lot of painful times, and I'm sure you have your own experiences to share. But isn't it true that despite all our struggles, God has been faithful to us?
Amen.
It doesn't matter how many times we fail. God never abandoned us.
Amen.
Despite all the times we hurt God, He still stuck around, waited for us to come to our senses. Shouldn't this give us hope? If you just remember how many times we fallen and God stayed faithful, shouldn't that give us hope? Sadly, for some of us, the past does not give us hope. For some of us, instead of giving us hope, the past gives us an excuse to be afraid.